Hello, fellow history enthusiasts. Are you interested in the horrific ways that people have made others suffer throughout history? Of course you are. Why else would you click on this video? Medieval Europe was not the best place or time to be born because, besides famine, war, and disease, you could also enjoy the rack, a simple wooden frame where you would lie on your back and instead of your loving partner, a nice stranger would tie your wrists and ankles secure and slowly turn the rollers, giving you the stretch of your life. Now, of course, just like me, some of you might enjoy a few extra inches where it counts, but besides giving you more horizontal length, the rack might also give you the following: severe dislocation of the shoulders, elbows, knees, and ankles, muscle tearing with a bonus of ligament damage, snap bones due to extreme tension, and of course, permanent disability. The slightly crude chiropractic treatment would last until you would confess even to the most bizarre of your secrets, maybe even things that you never did just to stop the pain. Next on the list we have impalement, a method favored but not exclusive to literature's favorite vampire, Vlad Dracula, or more popularly known as Vlad the Impaler. I know that some of you might have had their fair share of weird objects inserted in the hole that should only be an exit, but in this case, even the most bizarre of your experience pale in comparison. A sharpened wooden stake would be firmly driven into the ground with the pointy part upwards, and the victim was forced onto it. The entry point would usually be the perineum or torso. Once firmly mounted on the stake, the tormentors would simply leave gravity to do its job, slowly driving the wood through the victim. If lucky, death would occur within the hour, but there have been cases where it took days. In ancient Persia, we have Scaphism. And damn, I don't know what sick mind would come up with this kind of spa day, but the idea was horrible. They would take two small boats, place one on top of the other, with the victim's head, hands and feet sticking out. The poor fellow was fed and smeared with milk and honey, and then just left there to float on a body of stagnant water. The ordeal would take days or weeks, in which the victim would have diarrhea worse than you had after that Indian food eaten at the date with the woman of your dreams, and that, along with the milk and honey, would attract insects leading to infections. After also being exposed to the elements, insects and exhaustion, one would finally cease to live, ending in the nightmare of their final days. Now, besides giving us the Great Wall, the Terracotta Army, and panda videos, China also gave us the practice of Lingqi, also known as the Death of a Thousand Cuts, reserved only for those responsible of high treason, mass murder, and minor offenses that the emperor considered annoying. The victim, which was most likely unwilling, was tied to a wooden frame where a specialized executioner made cuts with more precision than you aiming at the urinal. These cuts were made to slowly remove flesh, even reaching amputation without killing the victim. It is written that by the Ming Dynasty, one man could suffer up to 3,000 incisions without succumbing to his wounds. The end of this sadistic treatment was after hours of mutilation, or, if you were lucky, a final fatal blow. Now, just like you having a girlfriend, the use of this device could have been a work of fiction. The brazen bull was a torture device invented in Greece, and the idea was simple. Take a bronze statue of a bull that was hollow inside and place a possibly unwilling victim within. Afterwards, light a nice fire under the belly of the aforementioned bull and wait until you can hear the bellows of the same bull. The sound coming from the bronze figure were actually the horrific screams of the victim trapped inside while the poor soul roasted alive. And there I was thinking that the Greeks only invented nice things like democracy and the other thing that I mentioned in the video about the life of Caligula. Going back to the medieval period, we have the breaking wheel, which might sound like the name of a weird alternative rock band, but was actually a horrific torture method in which a fellow with questionable morals that has committed murder or robbery amongst other things would have been tied to the wheel, and executioners would strike him with clubs or iron bars, breaking bones while taking care not to yet end his life. Then, the tied man, with his limbs shattered and bones fractured, would be left on display for hours or days while still being tied to the wheel. Another probable work of fiction could be the Iron Maiden, which, just like beer and the funny under-nose mustache, is presumed to appear in Germany. The coffin-shaped iron cabinet would have iron spikes to impale any unlucky bastard that would have been placed inside. Besides being poked from every side worse than in a Japanese metro, you would also have to endure the horrible claustrophobic feeling of being in something that is almost as small as the BMW Isetta. The next method of torture was documented from the Far East to the Aztecs in the New World due to its simplicity and horrific results. And just like in the case of you scratching the door on your dad's new car, the horror was present on every spectator's face, making you think twice before doing anything bad. Flaying was the process of removing pieces of skin from the body, revealing the underlying muscle and tissue, all while the victim was still alive so that they could endure the prolonged suffering. This terror spectacle could go on for hours until the victim passed or went into shock. For all of you Navy enthusiasts, we must include this Dutch and English favorite. Keel hauling was a form of punishment given out to sailors while at sea. The victims would unwillingly participate in this extreme sport by being tied to a rope that was looped around the vessel, thrown overboard from one side and dragged to the other, all while hoping you would not drown. And finally, going to Europe. Still Europe, they had a lot of torturing to do. Anyway, a weird approach to torture was the Judas cradle, a wooden pyramid mounted on a stall with its victim hanging above and lowered slowly so that the weight of their body would all rest on that one point of contact. Saying this was uncomfortable could have been an understatement, considering that the torture sessions could last for hours and they would be repeated over the course of several days. Thank you for watching this video that describes the horrific things that people would do to other people. And if you are like me and are interested in more horrific history, don't forget to like and subscribe.